Welcome everyone. We'll start the webinar momentarily. We're letting people in. And tell us where you're joining from. My name is Samson. I'm joining from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I can see people in Guatemala, South Carolina, France, bonjour, Zambia, Nigeria, Yemen, Jordan, Germany, exciting, Kenya, Algeria, China, Washington, Beirut, Bolivia, Philippines. Wow, this is exciting. Cote d'Ivoire, Madrid, Israel, Uganda, Peru. Wow. Canada, the UK. Welcome everyone. Okay, I think we can Zimbabwe, Montreal, China, Bangladesh, Cape Town, everyone. Kazakhstan, Bolivia. Wow, this is a mix. I think we have representative from everyone, from everywhere in the world, which is exciting. Rwanda is, of course, our host for our Women Deliver 2023 conference. Excellent. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome everyone to this exciting webinar on the Global Dialogue. My name is Samson. I'm the co-head for the Women Deliver 2023 conference. And really to have you all here today for this Global Dialogue webinar. And just want to share some housekeeping rules before the webinar. We are recording the webinar, and the recording will be available afterwards to all who have registered. And we have interpretations available in English, French, and Spanish. To access the interpretation, use the globe on top, on the bottom, and you can choose your preferred language, either English, French, or Spanish. We'll share the recordings and the presentations afterwards to all. And if you have any questions, you can use the chat function, the Q&A function, and then the chat. You can tell us where you're joining us from. We'll be happy to hear from you. And with this, I would like to invite Valerie to guide us and tell us more about the Global Dialogue. Valerie, welcome.
Thank you so much, Samson, and welcome to everyone to the Global Dialogue Information webinar. By format of introduction, my name is Valerie Awino. I'm the advisor for the Global Dialogue and the Regional Convening Partner, and I'm joining this webinar from Kisumu, Kenya. So we'll start us off. What is the Global Dialogue? So for us, and the Global Dialogue is more than just a presentation of information. It's about connection, solidarity, and collaboration across individuals, organizations, and partners in the lead up to the Women Deliver Congress in Kigali, Rwanda, from the 17th to the 20th of July, 2023. The reason as to why we started the Global Dialogue, we wanted that the communities, organizations to be able to start the conversations around gender equality, using their own languages, using their own resources in the format that they feel that is going to relate more to them before we go to Kigali in Rwanda, and be able to document and be able to present the issues that the different communities are facing in relation to gender equality. Also to mention that these spaces are co-designed and co-led by advocates and organizations together with partners in the format that they feel that is more inclined to their vision, but then again, sharing in the vision of Women Deliver, and that is the bridging of the gender inequality gap. Now, the global dialogue has three key elements. The first element is the regional convening, and this is co-led by the Women Deliver Regional Convening Partners. And also to mention them is the Victorian government in partnership with the Commonwealth of Australia, Asia Pacific Resource and Research Center for Women, ARO, Arab Institute for Women at the Lebanese American University, the city of Bogota, Colombia, and South Africa's Ministry of Women, Youth, and Persons with Disabilities. These are our regional convening, and currently they are organizing or preparing to organize both in-person and virtual convenings to discuss gender equality. And I'm going to touch more on that in the next few slides. The next element is the community events. The community events, these are dedicated advocacy spaces for community members to be able to discuss or to deliberate on some of the issues that they are facing in their respective communities. The beauty of the community event is that it could be anything. The format could be anything, ranging from a book club, it could be a WhatsApp community of practice, it could be it could be through workshops whereby you feel that some of the issues that the community is facing should be deliberated upon and also be presented during the main conference in Kigali. And lastly, on the elements of the global dialogue is the Rwandan mobilization. As you might have known by now that the Women Deliver 2023 conference is going to take place in Kigali, Rwanda. And it is also important that we are able to bring on board the locals and also the civil society organizations that are working to address the gender equality issues in the country. And therefore, for this reason, we are working with the CSOs together with the UN agencies and the government to make sure that we're also able to bring on board the issues that the communities are facing. Going back to the regional convening, what are some of the progress that have been made in the lead up to the main conference? So one, the Victorian government. Currently, they have already developed the regional convening strategy. And part of this strategy is to have 2 in-person meetings. One is going to take place in the Pacific region in May. We are yet to close down on the dates, but that is going to be communicated in due course. And the other in-person convening is going to be in Melbourne from the 5th and 6th of June. With the regional convening, it doesn't necessarily mean that if the regional convening is the Victorian government and the focus should be in the Australia, no. If you want to get in touch with them or want to get involved in the activities, this is open to the people within the Pacific region and not necessarily in Australia. The Asian Pacific Resource and Research Center for Women, ARO, is working in partnership with YUWA. YUWA is a Nepalese name for young people. And through this continued collaboration, what they envision to have is both in-person and virtual events. We are going to communicate the exact dates of the events very soon. Then we have the city of Bogota, Colombia. We have they have scheduled an in-person convening on the 28th and 29th of June. And lastly, we have Arab Institute for Women at the Lebanese American University. The approach that the MENA region is going to take is to bring on board a researcher and communication consultant to be able to look at key thematic areas or key thematic topics that are very common in the region. And some of the thematic focus that they are going to delve more in is body autonomy, marginalization, conflict and insecurity across refugees, IDPs, and migrants. And we also have legal reforms, and lastly, physical and mental health. These are the thematic focus that the MENA region is going to be focusing on in the lead up to the conference in July. Next slide, please. Now, up to this point, we already know what the global dialogue is, what are the key elements of the global dialogue. And probably you're asking yourself, how can I be part of the global dialogue apart from the regional convening? How you can get involved is through submitting to us the community event that you are currently planning. And through this, the registration form is available on the Women Deliver website. The link will be shared shortly on the chat box so that you're able to access that. But to highlight is that some of the information that we will require for us to be able to highlight your community event in the in the Women Deliver website is we will need the name of the organizer, the host, so that we're able to get in touch with the host in case we need additional information about the event, the name of the organization, of course, the contact details, what is the event all about, and of course, the date and the timing. Kindly include the time zone as well to be able to make sure that a particular section is not left out. The location of the event. The location of the event, if it's an in-person event, we will require the exact location for easy accessibility. If it's a virtual event, kindly do not forget to include the link, a short description of the event. What is the event all about? What do you want to achieve, or what is it that you want the audience to take away with? And we also have, if you're able to provide the description in French and Spanish, that would be great to be able to cover more regions and more audience. A link to any additional resources that will want us. This could be policy that will want us to highlight. This could be policy papers. This could be a survey that we want the audience to fill. Kindly include that. And lastly, we have the safeguarding clause. It is important for us as Women Deliver that the spaces that we want, the gender equality and advocacy spaces, to be as inclusive as possible. And through this, we encourage the organizers to agree to the digital safeguarding guidelines. This is not to police the audience, but our intention is to make sure that the conversations that are happening in these spaces are able to help us move forward in our advocacy journey, and also to make sure that we make each and every person feel as if they are able to share their views in a conducive and safe environment. Therefore, as part of the registration link, is you should be able to agree to the safeguarding guidelines. And also we have the Global Dialogue Toolkit, which is going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. Kindly go through the Global Dialogue Toolkit and also agree to the digital safeguarding guidelines to be able to make sure that the spaces that we are having these advocacy conversations are safe and conducive to everyone. I'm now going to give the floor to my colleague Trinley Atop to be able to take us through the platform for digital platforms for the virtual event.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Valerie. And hello, everyone. My name is Tinley Atup, and I am the focal for the WD2023 virtual conference. I'm joining from Kathmandu, Nepal, and I'll be presenting on some best practices to follow when organizing remote and in-person convenings for the global dialogue, keeping in mind the Women Deliver principles and guidelines in ensuring accessibility to all. I'm very excited to join our conference team in welcoming you to the launch of this WD 2023 Global Dialogue, which Valerie has explained so far through this webinar. So I'll start with my presentation. So thanks to advancements in technology in the last 10 years or so, we can now very easily hold large or small convenings virtually with participants joining in live from across the globe, just like we have it right now, which makes it really unimaginably easy to communicate and share knowledge and information. And I say unimaginable because I grew up using snail mail, which is letters in paper, to communicate with friends and family who were not within walking distance from where I was. So it's very exciting to see this advancement in technology where we can communicate so easily virtually at any time. So anyway, I imagine that most of you are familiar with the platform icons that you see on this slide, but I'll just name them. And these are some of the platforms that you could use for your convenings. So we have Zoom, which we're using now. We have Microsoft Teams. You have Facebook events, WhatsApp community spaces, Google Meet, Instagram Live, Twitter Spaces. And as Valerie mentioned, we will be launching the Global Dialogue Toolkit soon, where you will have links, where we will include links to follow on details on how to use these platforms for your events. Again, this is not an all-inclusive list, and depending on what is most feasible and accessible for to the organizer and the audience, you can choose other platforms as well. For example, I know that here in Nepal, Viber is very popular for community events and communication in general. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of the best practices for the virtual events, I'll just go over them. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, and for more information on best practices, please do refer to the Global Dialogue Toolkit, which will be launched in a few weeks. So the first thing when you want to organize a virtual event is to choose the right platform. And by right platform, we mean platforms that require low bandwidth, are user-friendly, and accessible from smartphones. And if it's a web-based platform, make sure that it is compatible with all browsers, like Safari, Firefox, Chrome. And I say accessible from iPhones because coming from Nepal, I know that most people have smartphones, and not everyone has access to laptops. So using a platform that is accessible from smartphones ensures accessibility to more people. Next, of course, you have to be clear about the objectives of the meeting or the event. It will just make it easier for you to decide your participants, topics, agenda, methodology of the meeting, and others. Next, again, this is if you have the resources and as best as possible to follow these guidelines. It is always good to have two key roles, to assign two key roles when organizing virtual events, a moderator and a chat monitor. The moderator can serve as the coordinating figure and who will have the overview of the structure of the meeting. The role of each speaker and the contents to ensure smooth flow of the event, and a chat monitor who can read the messages from the audience and take any Q&As, answer any questions you have through the Q&A features. Next is, of course, make sure that your events are lively, and the modalities of participation that you use encourage people to participate. So you can use icebreakers, gamifications, Q&A sessions, chat functions, the way we are doing it right now, and also creating a community music playlist. Again, to know more about these different items on this list, you can refer to the Global Dialogue Toolkit. So again, and I'm sure most of you are already aware of these best practices as well. So it is important to have follow-up communication, such as thank you messages, post-event survey to learn what worked well and what didn't, and areas of improvement. And it's best to share when the momentum is high, so right after the event, as soon as possible after the event. Also, make sure you share next steps and resolutions, if there are any. And one of the most important best practices to follow is to protect the privacy of your participants. At the least for virtual events, make sure that you inform the participants that the meeting is being recorded. You may also want to ask the speakers for consent on sharing their presentation and materials. And also, if you're sharing any part of the meeting, either on video or audio, you may want to ask any participants who are engaged in that video or audio for their consent to share those materials. Again, for detailed information on how to protect privacy of participants, you can refer to the toolkit. And we also have our Women Deliver privacy policy that you could refer to, and it is on the Women Deliver website. Next slide, please. So here you have a list of accessibility items to keep in mind for mostly virtual. You would want to consult persons with a disability or organization of persons with disabilities just to get their recommendation on accessible meeting venue options. You may want to ask your participants or your audience if they have any accessibility requirements, such as sign language interpreters, captioners, and if you have the resources, make sure that you have them available for persons with disabilities. You may also want to conduct site visits of shortlisted venues to make sure that it is an accessible venue. And that there is seating reserved for deaf persons and hard of hearing persons, and also other participants with disabilities and their personal assistants. And also, of course, if you have sign language interpreters, make sure that you have seats reserved for them as well. And you also want to ensure accessible transportation and lodging accommodation options that are closer to the conference facility, just to make it easy for everyone to get to the conference facility or the meeting venue. Make sure you send invitations in an accessible format. It could be a Word file or a PDF that has text-to-speech features. Next slide, please. So the previous slide was, I think, mostly for in-person events. Sorry, I think I said it was for virtual, but it was mostly for in-person events. And this next slide is for virtual events. This is just to ensure that we are not creating a barrier to accessibility for persons with disability again, and especially for persons who are blind or have visual impairments, and also for deaf persons and those with hearing impairments. So for them, for virtual events, you want to minimize flashing images and consider color contrast of the screen that you are sharing. The color contrast should be between the foreground and the background colors. You can find the best ratio for the contrast from online resources, and we may also include that. I think we've also included that in the toolkit. The right contrast ratio ensures people with moderately low vision to be able to tell the colors apart and see your content. You want to make sure that the platform that you've chosen has inbuilt adjustable text size, color, and brightness. Make sure you enable audio and video captions during your live virtual event for deaf persons and persons with hearing impairments. And also make sure that the platform you choose has clearly defined buttons to assist in finding content and information. And last, and this applies to in-person and virtual events, when you, as best as possible, try to avoid excessive use of jargon. It is best to avoid technical jargon in your speech, as it will make, as you know, it will make it difficult for people who are not from the international development space to understand that information that you are sharing. And this is especially important to keep in mind for events where you would want people from local and rural communities and grassroots organizations in Asia or Africa to participate in your event. So for example, if I was a speaker at an event here in Nepal, let's say, and there were young people from rural Nepal participating and listening to me, and I said, and this statement is not from any organization, it's just from an article that talked about using excessive technical language. So if in that event I was a speaker and I said something like, gender empowering, multi-sectoral capacity building facilitates knowledge sharing and engages stakeholders in inclusive sustainability, I think it'll be quite difficult for my audience to understand, especially if they're from rural communities. So keeping your audience in mind, whenever possible, it is best to speak in simple and clear language. So with that, I end my presentation. Thank you, and I pass it back to you, Valerie.
Thank you, Tinley, and also the example that you've given on the jargon. After the second sentence, I was lost. So I can imagine how lost your audience will be back in Nepal. Now that we've understood what the global dialogue is all about, the accessibility considerations that you need to take into consideration, let's now talk about communication, marketing, and branding. How do we make sure that the events that we are creating are able to reach the target audience and also to get the engagement that we expect? One is to make sure that we partner with an influential guest speaker, and the influential guest speaker for this case could be someone, it is relative, and it could be someone in your specific community that has influence and is able to help you get the desired results that you want. For instance, if you want a policy change, this is the right person that you'll want to get in contact with and be able to invite in the event. I'll give an example of the Kenyan context, and especially in organizing of the community events. For instance, I'll want to involve the area MP. I'll want to involve the women representative, because these are people in positions of power, and they're able to sway in, or they're able to make sure that some of the advocacy focus that we want to achieve really get the attention that we need. The second is they promote the event using owned media channels. I'm very sure that we understand the power of media, and especially social media. And therefore, if you already have existing social media channels, it will be important that we maximize on those and be able to promote the event using those channels, as you have already created a community within those channels. Save the date. It's important to send it early enough. It's not a must that you send with all the necessary details, but just for the audience to be able to schedule the date and the timing in their own calendar. How do we make sure that we create the excitement towards the event? This is by creating the buzz. The buzz could take any format. For instance, one of the influential guests that is coming will say, I am coming. For instance, I'll give an example of WD 2023. Valerie Awino will be attending WD 2023 if Valerie probably was an MP of an area. So it creates the buzz, and it also creates the excitement that people want to see, the audience wants to see. Make the registration process as easy and accessible as possible. The audience wants to see all the information right in front of them, which should also be as simple as possible, so that they don't leave the registration process in the middle. Therefore, making the registration process easy is also key to making sure that we get the engagement, the desired engagement. How do we also make sure that the event gets the right engagement and also attract people? For the Women Deliver 2023 conference, we'll be using the hashtag WD2023. Also, as you're planning the events, feel free to use this hashtag and to tag us across all the social media platforms, so that also our audience are able to see what you're planning and they can be able to join you. And lastly, be in a position to communicate the benefits of attending the event. This answers the question, why? Why should they be able to come to an event? What is it that I'm coming to learn? What is it that I'll be able to take home with me and what are the follow-up steps. So it is important to communicate why you're organizing the event and why it's important for your audience to be able to join. Kindly, next slide. So after all has been said, how do we make sure that we create we strengthen the mobilization, the momentum as we prepare for the conference in Kigali? If you want to get connected to any of the regional convening partners that I had mentioned before, kindly reach out to me and I'll be able to make the connection through the representative or through the coordinator of the regional convening partners, and also to be able to understand what are the lined up events and how you can participate. So kindly reach out to me. For the community events, we have the registration link. This is the same information that I had shared previously during my presentation on the highlight of what Global Dialogue is all about. May head to our website under the Global Dialogue. You'll be able to see the community events and do share with us the events that you're planning within your community. Once you have the event and you have your audience, and kindly do share with us the photos from the events. We'd love to see the part of the key moments that you shared during while organizing the event and also during the events. Kindly do share with us the photos with a brief description of who is in attendance, what are the key highlights from the event, and we'll be able to share that in the Women Deliver Flickr account. Lastly is after the event, most of the audience ask what next. So for us to be in a position to keep tab of what are some of the events that happened, what were the key highlights, kindly while sharing with us the feedback, give us the overview of how many participants were able to join, which areas or which geographic locations were you able to cover, was there any key resolution? Was there an action point? Was there a policy paper that you decided to move forward with? Or are you planning a follow-up event to make sure that you're able to address some of the key resolutions from the previous event? So that is it all about the Global Dialogue, the next steps, and I'll now open the floor to question and answer.
Valerie, there are some questions on the Q&A. Maybe I can read it for you and you can answer. This is from Marta. It says, would it be possible for you to repeat the main topics of the Global Dialogue and the regional dialogues in Bogota?
Okay. Okay, so for the Bogota team, they haven't narrowed down on this. Just a second. Yeah, for the Bogota team, they haven't narrowed down on the thematic focus that they will be focusing on during the regional convening. However, the thematic topics that I shared were from the MENA region, and I'll just repeat that. That is body autonomy, marginalization, conflict and insecurity among refugees, IDPs and migrants, legal reforms, and lastly, physical and mental health, disability, and depression. So that is from the MENA region. The Bogota team have not been able, they haven't shared the key thematic focus, but that will be shared in the next few weeks.
Great, thank you. Okay, you have another question also. Do we submit community events to the dialogue email, including all details you included on the slides?
Mm-hmm. Now, for the community events, you can submit the details about the event that you are organizing through the Women. The details are on the Women Deliver Global Dialogue page. I should be able to share the link right now, but you don't need to send the request for us to publicize about the event in the email, because you'll not be, if you send it through the email, you'll not be able to give us more information, and we also need you to be able to consent that you're going to observe, or you're going to include the safeguarding measures while organizing your event. So I'm going to share the link shortly in the chat. Kindly follow the link for you to be able to submit the event.
Great. Okay. Another question. Will all submissions be approved, or is there a selection process from your team, global and regional partner?
So for all the selections will not be approved. And this is that we need to do a background check of what the organization does, and if it's in line also with what Women Deliver uploads. So that is one of the key process that you're going to look at. And then another thing is the timeline in which you share the event with us. For instance, we'll be having the event on the 12th of March, but you share with us the details of the event either on the 11th or the same 12th of March. It's not going to be viable for us to share the event in our website. So the key measures that you're going to take here for us to be able to share the details of the event on the website is, first of all, do a background check of the organization, do you upload the values of Women Deliver, and then the other thing is the timeline in which you share with us the event. Gretchen, could you jump in if I've missed on any of the measures that you are taking into consideration to promote the community events?
Sorry, apologies. I was having trouble getting off mute. So my name is Gretchen Gastey. I'm one of the other co-heads for the Women Deliver 2023 conference. I think I'll just also mention about submissions that we welcome any and all events to be submitted, and it's not a rigorous approval process. We want to include as many events and be able to promote as many events and convenings as possible. So we just want to make sure that your event is related to gender equality and that it is not inappropriate or not related to Women Deliver's mission. So as long as it is in line with Women Deliver's mission and related to gender equality, then your event will most likely be approved. It's just a light vetting process. So please do submit as many events or convenings as possible, and also thinking back to Trinley's presentation, the different ways that you can convene. It doesn't have to be in person or a formal Zoom event. It can be over social media, or maybe it's a WhatsApp group that people are chatting on and sharing information, etc. So there's really a wide variety of ways that you can submit a convening.
Great. Thank you, Gretchen. Okay, moving on, the next question. How would you like us to share the event details for promotion before the event and the photos after?
Mm-hmm. So the link to the promotion of the event before and after is also on the Women Deliver website, and also the link has been shared on the chat box. So for the registration form, that is a different link. And then for the photos, there's a link that has been shared on the WD Flickr account. So we'll be able to get both submissions.
Okay, this is a clarification question. It's good to clarify it. It's the global data will be up, will be in the run up to the conference, not concurrently to the conference.
Yes, it will be on the run up to the conference. It's the mobilization, collaboration, also the engagement that that is happening. Actually, the engagement has already started happening in different parts of the regions. So it is the activities that are currently happening in the lead up to the main conference in July.
Okay, great. This is so. Will an announcement go officially announcing the Global Dialogue Lounge?
We are in the lounge already, but But yes, we are in the launch already because we are now voicing what the global dialogue is all about. The aspect that is remaining for us to share is the global dialogue toolkit, which is going to be ready in the next 2 weeks. However, I'll also encourage that you check the Women Deliver website, whereby we'll also be able to highlight some of the activities or the events that are happening across the regional convening partners. Yeah.
Okay, great. It says, how can an organization individual to the convening?
Sorry, Samson, just repeat that.
Oh, sorry. It says, how can an organization individual be part of the convening?
Okay, depending on the region in which you are based. For instance, if you are based in the African region, you could write to us and then we could introduce you or could do the formal introduction to the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Persons with Disability. And once the introduction has been done, it's now upon, or it will provide a platform for the two organizations to explore areas of collaboration. And also just to see before the conference, how can we partner and how can we mobilize within our own sub-regions? It could be within Africa, but in South Africa, Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. So it just depends with where you are. But kindly write to us and we'll do the formal introduction to move it forward.
Okay, so this
Valerie, if you don't mind, maybe also in terms of the community events, those will be shared on our webpage, which is already live. So you can go to the Women Deliver website, WD2023.org, and look for the Global Dialogue webpage. And then if you're interested in participating in a community event, as people share them with us, they will be on our website. So you can see what's happening either online or in your area.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it's similar to what you answered, but I think maybe you need more clarifications on this. It says, so if we want to host a virtual event that enters into one of the focus points of the MENA region, do we need to ask you to put us in contact with them?
Okay, I see a potential of collaboration and also getting to be able to delve more on the thematic focus if you come together with the MENA region. However, you can still choose to do it separately as a community event. It depends with the approach and also the format that you want to take with the thematic focus. So it is entirely depends on you, but I will encourage, because you're speaking about the same thematic focus, is to write to us and we'll be able to introduce you to the MENA region and see how the areas of synergies and collaboration to make sure that you also get to reach more audience with the discussion.
Okay, great. This says this question is about inclusion and accessibility. It says, I would like to know, especially if there's any facilitation for people with intellectual and cognitive disability.
Let me, yeah, Gretchen, can you?
Gretchen, maybe you can.
Sure. So that's a great question. And I just want to make clear that Women Deliver is not organizing the community events. These are really partner driven. So we are just helping to promote and share these events that are taking place, even in the regional convenings. It's the regional convening partners and the committees that are designing these events. So we are providing toolkits and best practices that you've heard some of those throughout the presentation, and we have in the toolkit more links to resources, but Women Deliver ourselves are not facilitating this. So it's great when you are thinking about attending an event to reach out and see what the accommodations might be in terms of accessibility. And it's a best practice if you're organizing an event, whatever form that is, to ask participants if there are any accommodations requests from participants.
Great, thank you. Gretchen, while you are there, maybe you should also address this. When should we expect the website to advertise details about the selected plenary and plenary presentation sessions?
I'm assuming this means for the actual conference to be held in Kigali. So we share closer to the conference a few weeks out the final program, and that will be available on the website and through the conference app.
Great, thank you. This is for Heba, actually. Are you doing any traditional media engagement?
Thank you, Samson. We will not be able to coordinate any media visibility, but if you are interested to do so, we can please email us and we will coordinate with Edelman, our PR agency working on communications, to see if it's a good moment for media or how to link your topic and connect it with one of the WD 2023 themes. And see how we can coordinate that together. Thank you.
Great. Thank you,
I think
Heba.
it's important to note that, as Heba said, we can't guarantee any sort of media connection. What we can do as Women Deliver is to promote it through our own channels, including our website and social media, but that's not a guarantee of any traditional media.
Great. Thank you. Valerie, I'm back to you now. So is there a submission deadline?
No, we don't have a submission deadline for the community events. However, just be mindful of the timeline just be mindful of the timeline and also the fact that we've now officially launched the Global Dialogue. I'm very sure that there's going to be a lot of requests coming in. Just make sure that there's a good timeline between the time that you send the request for us to publicize the event and also the time that you'll be having the actual event.
Okay, great. There are a couple of questions again. These are similar, so I'm grouping them together. How could organizations or individuals be connected to the regional convening partners? Maybe you can repeat that again to explain how it works.
Okay. So we have two options, because one is that you write to us. We have the 5 regional convening partners. You write to us and tell us which regional convening partner would you want to be connected with, and we'll do the introduction. So that is the first option. The second option is that since we are developing the Women Deliver Global Dialogue webpage, we will share the contact details of the regional convening partners. But since this is in development, it might take some time. Probably you want the connection to be immediately, but those are the 2 options that you can provide. One, to reach out to us directly, or 2, to check out our website in the next couple of weeks to be able to get the contact details of the representatives of the RCPs.
Great, thank you. So here it says, where can we find a list of approval global dialogues with their dates and sign up info leading up the events? Maybe we could put the link again.
Yes.
Yes,
the link,
Heba, yeah, Heba, if you could post the link again, people can see it. Okay, I'm going through. Okay, I think your questions. Well, and yeah, let us know you have more questions. I think we have tried to answer all the questions here. So maybe you can explain more about how we're working in Africa. There are a couple of questions on that.
Our regional convening partner is the Ministry of Gender, Youth and Persons with Disability in South Africa. Right now, we are still in the discussion phase, whereby we are trying to map out which is the viable direction that we want to take up with the African collaboration, taking into consideration that the conference is going to take place for the first time in Africa. So we really want to make sure that we maximize on the presence of the conference within the continent. So for now, we cannot share more information beyond the discussions that we're currently having, but we'll be able to share more information in the website in the coming weeks on the roadmap that we'll be taking with the mobilization within the African continent. Gretchen?
Thanks, Valerie. I'd also add, please sign up for our newsletter if you haven't already, and we can share that in the chat. Heba, our comms manager, can share how to sign up for the newsletter, and that's the best way to stay up to date as things are finalized. Also, as things are finalized, including the regional convenings and ways to sign up, including community events and what's happening online and in your region, please look at the website. As people send us events, we will post them, so it's on a rolling basis.
Great. Trying to see. I'm on the Q&A, so I don't know if there are any questions on the chat, but I'm trying to see.
One question I saw, Samson, and I'll jump in, is around financial assistance for community events. We are unable to provide financial assistance for operating a community event. So that is upon organizers. The good thing is there's many ways that you can organize an event that don't have a lot of cost. If you do something on social media, forming a WhatsApp group, there isn't additional cost for that. So it's really just in terms of like what your capacity is, who is the audience that you're trying to reach, what are you trying to achieve? Is it a one-time event or a conversation that you want to keep going over social media? It's really a wide variety of options.
Okay. This is a question, Valerie, for you. My question, he says, my question is if the US can connect to the regional partners or those who are residing in that particular region. Transcontinental collaboration is of high interest to me. So maybe we can you can explain more this.
Yes, of course. The reason as to why we have the global dialogue is to promote the conversations and also to strengthen the collaborations that have already been happening within the different regions. So kindly feel free, yes, to keep those conversations going and also to reach out to also the audience that have joined in today. I've seen a couple of chats that people want to collaborate and take this conversation further. Actually, that is the main intention as to why we are having the global dialogue, to be able to have these conversations before we get to Kigali. So then my answer to that is yes, kindly proceed with reaching out to different individuals, organizations, and also the RCP partners to make sure that we continue with the collaboration.
Great. Yeah, it seems that I have, there are no more questions here. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. Any closing remarks? Maybe we're almost out of time, so we can close. Maybe I'll give the floor back to you, Valerie. Oh, actually, there's one question. Maybe this is for you, Trinley. Maybe you can answer this also. What is the value of the Global Dialogue Toolkit?
Well, I think Valerie can better answer this, but yes, the global I've been working on the Global Dialogue Toolkit as well, along with Valerie. But we share best practices on how to convene and organize community events. And these best practices are especially around ensuring accessibility to all participants, especially persons with disabilities and minorities and disadvantaged populations. But for additional information on anything Global Dialogue, it's Valerie. Yeah,
this is more about the toolkit. I know you guys, you both worked on it, so that's why I was yeah. Okay, great, Valerie. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Samson, Thank you so much for sharing the Q&A session. Gretchen, thank you so much for joining, and also the rest of the conference team, Veronica, Heber, Diana, and of course, our interpreters. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, Trinley, go ahead.
Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but additionally, the Global Dialogue Toolkit will also provide tips on how to hold effective and efficient meetings. So it's a very interesting toolkit with a lot of information. We've looked at a lot of resources online to gather this information for you all to refer to for your events, for the Global Dialogue to be successful. Yeah, very successful. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's fine. And thank you so much for that addition. Yeah, the Global Dialogue is also one of the things that we are really looking forward to share, as it provides more information on how to organize both virtual and in-person in-person events, and of course to highlight the safeguarding practices. How do we make sure that the advocacy channels where we are having these conversations is safe for the people that are participating, and making sure that the spaces are open for future collaboration, and for no one to feel as if the spaces actually continue to insinuate or continue to encourage not very good best practices. So I'm going to close at that. Samson, thank you so much for the conference team who have been able to join. Thank you so much for our interpreters for providing your valuable skills. And of course, this webinar will be accessible on the WD YouTube channel. I've seen a couple of people asking if this webinar to be available. Yes, it's going to be available. And once again, thank you for joining. Back to you, Samson.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll share the recordings of this webinar probably in the next few days, and also together with the presentations. For updates, please go to our regularly, and we have the updates there. But thank you for joining, and we hope to see you all in our next webinar, and also at the conference in person in Kigali, and virtually from July 17th to 2023. Thank you all, and have a great day.